Babes, there are certain plants that are thirstier than your ex once they see that you're in a loving, stable relationship. These plants are probably native to a rainforest where it rains 365 days a year. And when you bring these plants into your apartment in Kentucky, shout out to my girls in Kentucky, they will certainly put you through the works because even though the soil is moist, they still need more water. These are the true thirsty biatches of the Houseplant Society. Now, I have compiled an expose of some of such plants that are honestly thirstier than a lot of people realize. And the goal for this is not to bash these plants or not to prevent you from buying this plant, but just to ensure that you approach this plant with the right setup. If you are growing any one of these plants I'm going to mention in a chunky soil mix, the chunky soil mix that dries a lot, it's not gonna work. You're gonna end up being frustrated. You and that plant will end up being frustrated. You either ensure that these plants are in a very moisture retaining mix or are in a semi-hydro mix like your pond or your leca. If not, then babes, you are on your own. Okay, so we don't like to keep our introductions too long on this page. So without much ado, let's get to the nitty-gritty. Now, this first plant is one I can categorically speak about because this is actually native to my country, Nigeria. It is native to my country, Nigeria. In fact, I didn't even know it could be a house plant. But you guys in the West, everything is a house plant to you all. No shade, but it's a Ficus umbellata. Okay, this is a plant I have seen growing in Lagos. I live in Lagos, Nigeria, and I've seen this plant growing in the wild here. And I want to describe where I have seen this plant growing so you have an idea of just what you're bringing into your homes. So in Lagos, we have the mainland axis. I live on the mainland. I live literally inside the mainland of Lagos. And then we have the island axis. We have a group of islands. You know, it's a lagoon, sort of like city geographical setup. And we also have the coastline. You will never see this plant growing where I live on the mainland. In the core mainland of this Lagos, you will never see this plant growing. But the more you move to the coastline, the more you move to the marshes and the swamps, that is where you will see this plant growing like an aggressive weed. Let me tell you an interesting story. I remember I had a job. There was a site I had to inspect to do the landscaping. It was going to be a big, huge, beach resort. I didn't get the job at the end of the day, but anyways. And then I remember on the way to the resort, we had to go deep, and we passed an entire swamp. And guys, all around it was a cluster of Ficus umbellatas. All around the swamp, the marshland was a cluster of Ficus umbellatas. I have never seen this plant actually growing where it is entirely dry land. They love the marsh, the wetlands, the wet canals, and that is the only place you will see them growing in their native habitat. So what made you think it was a good idea to buy this plant and keep it in your chunky soil mix? What made you think it was a good idea? This is a plant that loves to stay moist and loves moist-like conditions. I actually have a plant friend, shout out to you, Moni's Jungle. She has this plant and she actually stated that the moment she moved this plant to purely cococoya, purely something that is as retentive as cococoya, it started to do well. So that should also give you an idea that this is a plant. Do not keep it in your chunky soil mix. Okay, give it something that is really moisture retaining. Heck, put it in a self-watering setup, your leca, your pond, and trust me, it is going to grow beautifully. I should add that when this plant grows in the wild, it looks frightening, which is why I'm surprised that you guys apparently grow this as a house plant. So yeah, this next one is one I have personal experience with. You can't tell me nothing because this plant has literally proven to me that this is the thirstiest plant in the universe. It is this plant. I was going to say the B word that I remembered that I'm a Christian and we don't use such language. It is this homalaminai. Please, under no circumstances. In fact, I would strongly advise if you're going to get this plant, please move it to a self-watering setup. I have this in a self-watering setup, and you can see babe is still crunchy as F. From the few times I have forgotten to, refill the reservoir, because at the end of the day, I'm a human being. But this plant is not gonna have it. In fact, I've had to cut out so many parts. She was a crunchy mess at one point. I had to cut out so many parts. All of this while I'm growing it in a self-watering pot. Now imagine if I made the mistake of not growing this in a self-watering pot, which I have before, and it only lasted for like 2 weeks in my care. This plant is so friggin' thirsty. Oh, wow. Honestly defies everything you learn about watering plants, because when I had this growing entirely in soil with how the self-watering setup, the soil will still be moist, but yet she will still be looking miserable. And I'm like, wait, but I just watered you, I watered you 2 days ago. Do you still want more water? And then I will water her, and then bam, she's back. So it made me realize that, oh my God, this is one thirsty babe. Let's not use the B word. This is one thirsty babe. She's thirsty. She needs to be constantly hydrated. She makes a good indoor plant in the sense that she doesn't need a lot of light. In fact, a lot of these plants I'm going to mention, maybe except the Ficus umbellata, because that grows in full hellfire sun in this nation. But a lot of these other plants I'm going to mention, because they are probably native to the rainforest where it rains heavily and it's always constantly cloudy, you will find that these plants can actually do well in indoor ambient light conditions. The only challenge is to get them to stay hydrated without driving you crazy. So homalamina, Welasi, camouflage. I don't know whether this is true for the other variants, but this particular one in my experience is thirsty as hell, and certainly not for the weak. Okay, this is another one that I have personal experience with as well. In fact, I feel like a clown. Coming to tell you about this plant, because I feel like some of you actually warned me. I made a video where I was like, difficult plant I'm willing to try again, and this was one of the plants that I featured in that video. I have always loved how this plant looked. It's a Sismaglottis Wellandiae. Let's just get the name out of the way. I've always loved how this plant looked, but keeping this plant alive with my care has always been a challenge, because this is another thirsty babe. That's the only B word we're going to be using. This is another thirsty babe. And the vexing thing about this plant is that it has such a toxic relationship with spider mites. This plant can be like a spider mite breeding factory, because at the slightest inconvenience, if you let the soil to just dry out for maybe 1 or 2 days, oh my goodness, all the spider mites will just vroom. It is a spider mite manufacturing center. This plant under no circumstances should ever dry out. I actually had to give up and throw mine away. I did it off camera, so you guys don't start laughing at me, because some of you warned me in that video that, here you go again. So I gave up and threw that plant away off camera, because it was just a spider mite breeding factory. Regardless of how often I watered it, it just didn't look nice. Thinking back, maybe this is something I would have probably just grown in a pot that didn't have a drainage hole, because this is also another hack as well. Some of these thirsty plants, you can also place them in pots that do not have drainage holes, especially if you want to pair them with like a chunky mix. So you see how that can be a sweet compromise if you're hell-bent on using like a chunky mix or a very fast draining soil. So maybe if I felt like trying this plant again, I might potentially put it in a soil that doesn't have a drainage hole. I don't know, but not anytime soon. But yeah, this plant, oh Jesus. On the flip side though, if you can just keep constantly moist conditions, it grows very fast, and it grows into a full beautiful bush and doesn't even need a heck ton of light. In fact, if you give this plant way too much light, it is going to attract the spider mites. gonna attract the spider mites. It does that whenever it is distressed. But yeah, definitely a thirsty babe. Definitely a thirsty babe. And you want to grow this in a self-watering setup, or use very moisture retaining soil, or create in a pot that has no drainage holes. Okay. Now this one, I feel like 3 years ago, this Judas started to make their way into the houseplant market, and they're extremely beautiful. They just look absolutely gorgeous. I literally just wrote down pipers, because every single piper that I have ever bought, whether it's a piper sylvaticum, I remember owning that one and it was just so beautiful, but only lasted 2 weeks in my care. So whether it is a piper sylvaticum or other pipers, I think there's a piper discolor, I don't know, because that one was also beautiful and I once owned it before. But every single piper I have owned and has been sold to me as a houseplant has proven to be a thirsty babe. Yeah, an unsustainably thirsty babe that needs to constantly be hydrated, needs to constantly be kept moist. I want you to think and ask yourself this question: has there been anyone that bought any one of these piper thingies and still has them alive in their care? Has there been anyone? No, because they are extremely thirsty for the average human to keep alive. Except maybe you, I guess maybe do not have a social life, do not have any other responsibilities, and all you do is look at this plant and water it every single minute, every 5 minutes. Then you might have one that is still alive till this day. But if you're like everyone else in the world that has a life and has responsibilities and has bills to pay, keeping a piper sylvaticum alive, or any piper that is conventionally sold as a houseplant, oh my goodness gracious, is no small task. Knowing what I know now, and this is why videos like this are like really important, because they give you that foreshadowing that enables you approach things differently. If I knew what I knew now with these piper plants, because they are very, very beautiful, they are beautiful plants, but knowing what I know now, I probably would have just self-watering setup, or dare I say even grow them in pots that have no drainage holes. I think we need to free ourselves from the mentality, even though this is good advice, but we need to free ourselves from that chokehold that every plant needs to have a drainage hole. There are certain thirsty plants that honestly you can actually get away and they will do much better in pots that do not have drainage holes. Take that advice with a grain of salt, but yeah, experiment with these more thirsty plants that I'm going to mention on this list. They might actually be what will crack the code for you. So piper sylvaticum, in my experience, girl, a thirsty plant, a very thirsty plant, and not for the weak. Yeah, these last two, I saved them for the last part of this video, because I feel like they're a bit more obvious. I feel like they have a reputation that these are certainly not plants that you want to ever in your right senses allow them to dry out. But I feel like it still bears repeating in case you must have forgotten. Calatheas, love. Calatheas. Honestly, I don't think most of us truly realize just how thirsty calatheas are. I think the major challenge we have is that we are not watering them enough. Yeah, we think we're watering them, but we're not watering them enough, because with these guys, sometimes the soil is still very moist. And I just experienced that recently with one of the calatheas that I have that is still hanging on for her bare life. Her soil the other day was still very moist, but she was folding her leaves, in the characteristic nature that calatheas do when they are thirsty. So she was folding her leaves and looking miserable. But I was like, this babe, I watered you like 2 days ago and your soil is still very moist. So what is the tea? Could you still possibly be even more thirsty? And then I watered her, and bam, she's perky and happy now. So honestly, they really will make you reevaluate every single thing you've learned about watering plants, because these plants are very, very thirsty. And sometimes we forget that they are actually native to the rainforest. You know, I believe caltheas are native to the Amazon rainforest. I mean, it's literally called a rainforest for a reason, because it rains pretty much every single minute of the day, I would guess. So there's certain caltheas I've realized that are just exceptionally thirsty, and those are the ones that generally tend to have a really horrible reputation. However, there are some that I've also realized are quite drought tolerant. The Makoyana, oh my goodness gracious, Jesus, oh Lord, that plant is probably native to the drier side of the Amazon, where like somewhere where the rain doesn't get to it or whatnot. Yeah, so that one, the network calthea, the calthea Freddy, I think I have her here. Those tend to be a bit more drought tolerant, but you see the rest, especially the more finicky ones, the obifolias, I think if we just water them a bit more, dare I say even grow them in pots that do not have drainage holes, automatically, you know, just put them in very moisture retaining soils, you know, I believe we're gonna have better experience with them. So you could just experiment and, you know, and see how it goes. So yeah, definitely caltheas for sure. This list will not be complete if caltheas were not on this list. The next one is ferns. I should say this is also one that can be very polarizing. You could have ferns that are honestly, we have ferns growing as weeds in this part of the world, and this is true for a lot of tropical countries. There's always going to be that one fern that just grows as a weed on the sidewalk and just grows and doesn't even need much watering. So we have those guys. But on the flip side, we also have ferns that are incredibly thirsty, that you dare not, oh, maidenhair fern is coming to mind. Maidenhair fern is giving me flashbacks, traumatic flashbacks. Oh, you dare not, under your right circumstances, leave these ferns to dry, even if it's for 5 minutes. I'm going to realize the thinner the leaves of the fern, the thinner the leaves and the thinner the stems of that fern, the more thirsty that fern is. The more you need to water that fern every 5 minutes, the more you may definitely need to just grow that fern in a self-watering pot, or dare I say in a pot that doesn't have drainage holes. But the ferns that have the thicker leaves, the more thicker ones, you know, like your bird's nest ferns, also the thick ones, your staghorn ferns to a certain extent, those ones are a bit more drought tolerant. There is no fern that is fully drought tolerant, please. So when I say a bit more drought tolerant, I mean, you know, just in comparison, every single fern loves to be on the moist side. Some are more forgiving, which are the ones that are a bit more turgid, they have thicker leaves, thicker stems, all of that. Whereas some are a bit less forgiving, which are the ones that have the thinner leaves and the thinner stems and whatnot. So if you are a fern girly and you want to maintain your sanity, just go for the ones that have the thicker, you know, leaves. Those tend to be a bit more drought tolerant. But yes, ferns have to be on this list. So my darlings, we have actually come to the end of this video. I really wanted it to continue, but I only could think of like 6 plants that I have had personal experience with. I didn't just want to just randomly mention plants just for the sake of this video. If I can think of more, then we're definitely going to do a sequel, because I actually did enjoy filming this video. It felt like a conversation between you and I. That said, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, like and share. And if you're not if you're already at the end of this video and you're not subscribed, then there's something wrong. Please subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, my friends.